Hi everyone, and welcome to the Virtual View podcast with me, Paul Collis from Virtual Finance Director Services. I'm delighted this week to be joined by Simon Padgett, Bespoke estate agent powered by Ep2. Simon has, had a long career in the property market, both as an agent, a developer, and a business coach. So welcome to the podcast, Simon.
Thank you very much, Paul. Yeah, looking forward to it.
So like with all our guests, Simon, give us a bit of an introduction about yourself and your career to date, please.
Yeah, so I'm Simon Padgett, obviously. I've been in estate agency for about 15 years, but prior to that, I was in hotel management. I managed, or was one of the managers for the Devonshire Arms in Bolton Abbey, which most people know is in the Yorkshire Dales. I also worked at Rombles Hotel, and it's funny because working in the hotel industry is what gave me my people skills in terms of meeting up with people and and what's really required in that regard. So from there I got into development. I used to have a business in Ilkley where I bought properties and fixed them up and flipped them on. And then I got into estate agency, sort of advanced forward, moved into estate agency, and haven't really looked back. Been a very successful agent in different parts of the world, and obviously more recently in the UK. And in the last 5 years, I've done a lot of coaching. So I've taken people that have never been in a estate agency before, mentored them, and we've got some great examples of really successful agents that have gone on to do very well. So so it's been good.
Okay, brilliant. So what areas do you cover at the moment, Simon?
So at the moment, I have two hubs. I cover the Wharfe Valley, which runs from sort of Tadcaster, Wetherby area all the way up to Ilkley, sort of touching the Yorkshire Dales, is one hub. And then the other hub that I have is I cover the Burnley, Nelson, Colne corridor in Lancashire as well. My partner actually lives in Burnley, and I think that's kind of how that evolved. So those are the two areas.
Okay, brilliant. I mean, a big part of your business is meeting people, doing viewings, actually seeing the physical products. How's the pandemic affected that and the way you do business?
We've been, I look at other industries, Paul, to be honest, and we've been really lucky compared to a lot of other industries because, certainly in this more recent lockdown, we've been allowed to carry on as normal. Certainly in the first lockdown, we were closed down for a couple of months, and that was tricky. But I guess the upside of that was when we came out of it, there was a pent up demand of people that needed to move house and put the house on the market. So that combined with the government's recent some months ago the recent announcement to limit stamp duty for properties up to $500,000 has really helped. So, but in terms of adapting, obviously we're very strict in terms of the use of PPE equipment, I think that's what you're getting at, isn't it? Is that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I work for a company called EXP, and EXP is basically a mother brand that gives us access to all our systems, the Rightmove, Zoopla, training, leadership, everything that we need to run our agency. But it also very usefully has a virtual platform called Verbella. And I think I've showed you it a couple of times, but the great thing about the Verbella platform, and if anybody watching is interested in learning more, please reach out. But it's a virtual world where you create an avatar that looks just like you. So in my case, you've got a little bald guy running around, and you can create this avatar and dress it and do whatever you want to it to make it look like you. But the whole purpose is we have a collaborative environment where we have offices, classrooms, we have an auditorium. So wherever we are in the country, and there's 120 of us with EXP, we can meet up for training sessions, we can share best practices in this virtual environment. And there's some fun stuff on it as well. We can do little dances and things like that. But generally, no, it's absolutely fantastic for this current environment. I think if Verbella had been introduced to most people, 2 or 3 years ago, people would have thought it was a bit quirky and like Fortnite or something. But no, it is absolutely superb, and it brings people together in a way that Zoom or some of these other video conferencing facilities can't do. And we get that as part of our package, which is amazing. Sorry, that was a long description of what you asked, but yeah.
No problem. How have you found the housing market in your, I mean, you briefly talked about the areas that you operate in. Have you seen prices go up, down, stay the same in the last 6 months?
Great question, Paul. And I think what I'm about to tell you pretty much applies to the whole of the UK, but I have a property blog, and anybody's watching, feel free to go and have a look at it. It's called the Ilkley Property Blog. And I put a market update on every single week. I've had some recent ones talking about, you know, the benefits of the stamp duty concessions. I've just, in fact, my last blog, was talking about where I see prices, or where we should be looking at prices in terms of, you know, looking forward to 2021. And I would answer the question, you know, what does the property market look like in a year from now? Nobody really knows. And I think the problem with a lot of estate agents, and I'm not going to speak bad about my own industry, but there are a lot of estate agents out there, Paul, who will tell their clients what they want to hear in order to secure a listing. And for me, it's very, very important to have a very balanced and honest view on where I believe things are going, because, you know, I honestly think right now there is a lag in terms of where the economy actually is versus what we're seeing. And the reason for that is, you know, people are living off furloughs, you know, self-employed are living off bounce back loans, etc., interruption loans. And there is a bit of a delay and a lag in terms of what the effects of that are down the line. So, you know, when the furloughs run out, and I think they've been recently extended to March for those that have been employed, but certainly in our industry, when the stamp duty ends and all these other benefits that are there, I think there's going to be a concern. I really genuinely think there is a bit of a concern for the economy, and I don't think that will come as a surprise to anyone. And it's how we get over that. Having said that, you know, the property market has always been a strong investment option when in troubled times. You know, particularly when the stock market is fluctuating and going up and down, and there's you know, particularly with the current situation in the US. Nobody knows where that's going, and I've been watching the stocks go up and down all of this last couple of weeks. So, you know, property is always going to be a safe haven for everybody.
Yeah.
Add to that also the fact that you know, we have a shortage of housing in this country. There is a huge shortage, particularly at the lower end for first-time buyers, and that's a real concern for me. And, you know, for a number of my buyers that I've got that are looking for opportunities in some of the areas that I work in, which are higher value areas, and they can't get on, you know, they can't get the foot on the ladder. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of where I see it. So.
Yeah, definitely. I've been reading a lot in the press about people who historically have based professionals who've lived and worked in cities all their life, but they're actually realising that, you know, the English countryside has got a lot to offer. And, you know, it's really opened their eyes to places like Ilkley and the corridor you spoke about. Do you see prices going up in those areas in the next year or two?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can tell you already this year, probably since March to now, we've seen a 4 to 6% increase in the areas that I'm working in. And if you speak to some of the agents, they're saying by the time we hit December, we will have seen across the board an average of a 6% increase in property values, which is absolutely mind-blowing when you think of where we're at. Some may say slightly concerning in the sense that, you know, with everything that's going on and what I just said about concerns moving into 2021. So, you know, the upshot of that is more houses do need to be built, and you know, I think the construction sector will be okay moving forward in that regard. But where do I see prices beyond December? I think that's a really, really difficult question to answer. I really wouldn't want to call it, and you know, I think some agents would say, "Oh, I think they're going to continue increasing," and you know, they're going to say that because they want to put a positive spin on everything. Yeah. I do think in terms of the areas that I work on, I'd be very surprised if we see a dip in those areas. I think what it will do is level out for certain, because there's always going to be strong demands in those locations. But it is a tough one to call, is that, Paul, to be honest.
Okay, brilliant. Another thing you mentioned was coaching, and I know that's a subject close to your heart. And one thing I'm quite passionate about is, I joined PwC straight from my A levels from school. What advice have you got for school leavers, or maybe graduates, or even people looking to change career at the moment? What do you get out of being in the property market? What are the benefits? What motivates you?
Well, it's, again, a good question. I was talking to somebody last week about, I think you go back to pre-COVID, getting a job was a sense of security. But I'm speaking to a lot of people at the moment who have actually set up businesses that have never thought about setting up a business because they've been concerned about, the security element, they're nervous about setting up their own business, all the usual things. But actually, they've put the risk factor of setting up your own business on kind of on parity with actually being employed because of what's happening. So probably, I don't think there's a better time if you choose the right niche. I don't think there's a better time than right now to set up a business, because in terms of setting up any business, you have to build the platform and get all your systems and everything in place. And, it's a great time to do that now while we've got the lockdown. But also, I think a lot of people are feeling, down, and, I think people stop marketing and they stop lead generating. And I think this is the best time to do that. It's the best time to get yourself out there and emerge as a new business, whatever that might be. And, we're seeing, as a sector, we're seeing a lot of people who are currently working for high street agents jumping into the self-employed model, which when I started with self-employed model, obviously I lived abroad, but, in the UK sort of 5-6 years ago, I reckon it was less than 2% of estate agents were self-employed working from home. I would guess it's probably between 5 and 7% now. And I understand that in the next 5 years, it could grow to as high as 30%. So yeah, to answer your question, I think I think it's a great time to set up your own business, whatever that might be.
Brilliant. As we bring the podcast to a close, Simon, how can people get in contact with you? Do you have a website, email?
So please feel free to my blog, if you're interested in property news, is the Ilkley Property blog. My website is simonpadgett.exp.com is my website. And if anybody's interested in coaching for a estate agency, then if you reach out to Paul, and he'll connect you up with me. And I really appreciate your time today, Paul.
Yeah, no, thank you for being a guest, Simon. So you've been listening to the Virtual View podcast with your host, Paul Collis, and Bespoke estate agent Simon Padgett from SRP Properties, powered by EXP. Okay, thank you, Simon, and we'll catch up soon.
Cheers, Paul.